What is happening, people? Just going to walk over what I'm kind of looking for today. Now, yesterday I did catch a break even. This break even in here, my stop loss was a little bit high. This was the entry I should have had, but it was a 5 pip stop loss. It was that. So it ran 1 to 2 and then reversed. The prime entry for buyers yesterday on EU was this one here. I was asleep, so this was like 1:30 a.m. my time. Like I said, I was asleep. So I'm now in this and I'm at break even, and I'll kind of explain why. So on the 4 hour, this is what I'm kind of expecting to have happen today. We've obviously got, this is our current 4 hour range, extreme, and this is your area of decisional. We've now obviously pushed up off of the take of this low, made our first internal high, so we've confirmed an internal break. Now in terms of that internal break, what broke through, you've obviously got more or less this area which we've reacted off and pushed up. We're now coming into the decision of that break, which is this area here, which we're really close to tapping. Like it's pretty much already tapped it, if I'm being completely honest. It's so close. Now yeah, it's pretty close with the tapping of that area. If we go on the hourly and what we're kind of expecting on the hourly, like I said, I had that marked out as that entire area. On the hourly, as you can see, we're more or less still bullish. That was our internal break here. We've then pulled back down and then broken again internally. So our external range is still this here. We did react off of that decisional of that break, which is quite clean. And we've just shown bullish structure off of that. So this probably looks a bit confusing. So I'll jump down to the 15 minute. Like I said, we've come in, new low, new high. We've now pushed through the decisional of that range, which is also the decisional of our 15 minute range. We had that inducement here where we tried to buy. This point shouldn't hold. On the 15 minute, we've had internal break, which is obviously confirmed as an internal break. We've had our decisional, which reacted off of last night. And then we had our extreme, which we're reacting off of now. So I'm expecting this high to necessarily bring back price to the extreme of our hourly and the extreme of our 15 minute, which is this point here. All of this is filled. So I'm looking to buy off of this. So what this will give us is it'll give us a really nice inducement here into that mitigation. I'm expecting this to actually be a bit of a slow movement, kind of like that, probably get a reaction like that off of that, which will then give us that buy, which will build up liquidity here in further into this point, which lines up pretty cleanly. So I want to buy under this low, and that's how I see that. I will look to see if I can sell down towards it. Like I said, I'm in this sell now. It's more of a swing entry, but it was only 6 pips, so I was quite happy to take it. It could stop me out at break even, and then I'll have to re-enter, but at the moment it's running quite nicely. And GU, I'm more or less looking for the same thing. So if we go on the 4 hour on GU, we have internally broken off of that. Our last 4 hour impulse is that high to that low. It's the one that took liquidity that created the internal break. So this is our area of decisional, which we still haven't come to yet. So I think we're going to push up that internal break. We've now taken the decisional of that break with this really good inducement here. And now we're just looking, are we coming down to the extreme of this area down here? Or are we going to continue pushing up? Now, there's not a lot of imbalance down here, actually. So I'm going to have this as my extreme. All of this is necessarily filled. Yes, there's small reactions and so on, but it's all necessarily filled. So I've got the extreme mitigation off of a decisional inducement, which holds a lot of weight in our structure cycle. So I want to continue to buy. So this point here doesn't hold a lot, but this liquidity here was the decisional of that bigger break, which is our external 15 minute as well. So we've pushed through that. We need to find out if this is going to hold enough to break that next low and then continue higher, or what we're going to have happen is this being a weaker point, we actually move our way slowly down like this, look for that, and then buy up through that, targeting this high. That'll actually line up with what EU is doing today as well. So I'm open to that. I'm also open to the take of our external low as well, and then buying off of that. That'll give a really good inducement. So I'm open to buying here or buying at the take of our extreme area here, which will also give more of a mitigation to this area as well. So it's either going to treat it as this area is our extreme, given how filled everything is. I imagine there's like a 5 minute point or something in here, or that's our extreme because we've already mitigated that. So there's kind of a couple of options. Either or, this will either be weak and we'll come take this low and then buy, or this will be strong, we'll come down here and we'll buy. So we can try and catch the sell towards this. I don't think it's valid to necessarily catch that sell, obviously, until we come into a valid point. We've got this hourly point here. But if you kind of mark out how big this is, oh, it's only 23 pips, so that's not a bad point to mark out. Once we hit that point, we can look to buy. For me, I would actually rather it come down a little bit further, closer to that 15-minute area here, and kind of work off of that, and look for that. So I'm going to look to buy this, but also understand that this could be a trap to take liquidity, to take this low, to then buy higher again. So that's what we're kind of working with at the moment, all in terms of just moving up to this valid area, because that's my current range. Nothing internally actually makes sense for me. So I really like where GU is. We'll just have to wait until it kind of builds itself up there. So open to either or. It literally just depends if that's weak or not. Now USD.CAD, I'm up for a buy to sell. So if we look at USD.CAD, that's our external range. We have not broken anything. There's no internal structure or anything important. This is our point here. We had the decisional of our internal break that's already been taken, which was perfect. We've pushed up and obviously just disrespected that entirely by continuing to push down. You can also view this as the inducement and them as equal lows. So I'm expecting this to give us a reaction. Now, if you kind of look at what's happened here, we've had an internal break. We've now come into more or less the decisional of that area. You've got low, high, they create a lower low. That's the decisional 15-minute. This probably won't hold enough given what that's done. Like I said, we've had this internal break here. We've got this liquidity built up. We've done a really small inducement to the downside here. I don't actually think that's enough personally. What I would more or less be looking into, we've got our extreme area obviously at the low, and then we've got our decisional of that internal break sitting here, both in which have taken liquidity. So I'm okay to buy from either of those. That lines up with EU and GU as well, which is quite clear. So buying off of those two. In terms of selling, we've got our extreme here. I'm open to sells here. Now there's a possibility that this won't hold, but given what EU and GU have done, I think it will. I think it makes sense to. This is a relatively strong point. If you look on the hourly, it is a very good hourly point. Our hourly and our 15-minute time frame actually line up perfectly together. And on the 4-hour, this is also a valid high to low as well. So you've got high, low, high, low. So you've got really good movement here. It did take a little bit here. So you got high, low, high, new lower low, which is really clear. So this is a really good demand to supply as well. There's lots of institutional involvement at this point. It would be really nice to sell off the take of our decisional, which is this high here, which we have quad equal highs at. So there's multiple reasons on why we'll buy through that. There's just a couple there, and I'll be looking and open to that. AU, we've had that news. I'm not really open to much now. If we kind of look at what our go is, you've got obviously high that broke this low, high, lower low. We're still in that range. We haven't broken out of that. We've come to our extreme and pushed all the way down. Off of the internal break, we've taken the decisional, which sits in here, and come into this point. So we're trying to find out, is this holding or is this holding? In terms of that break, you've got, we can look internally. It depends how internal you want to go. For me, you don't necessarily need to go too internal, being that range, being that internal break here. High, low, high, new lower low. So you've got a break there. You've got a really good point that we've just taken, which is the decisional of the point that's pushed through here. Okay, it's also the decisional of more or less this bigger leg internally here. So multiple ways to kind of look at that. It's very hard when you've got such up and down ranges, but this is a really good inducement of a point. I would like to see the sell-off now. Do I think it's going to happen? I do. Do I think we'll be able to get into it? I don't. Given how structure looks, it's not really giving us a lot to work with. It may actually want to come higher, more or less to the extreme. This internal range is quite difficult to work with simply because it's so internal. Like, how internal do you go? On the floor, like I said, that's our range. Really good inducement into the mitigation of that area. New high, which has created that high. Kind of working. The structure here is very difficult. So you're kind of working in this low to this high, which induced, which is fine. You then come down and created low, high, low, high, low. So more or less that's my new range. That's my internal range. It's very difficult when you don't break either side, because technically our internal range is still this, going against that external range. We still haven't broken this, so we're still not internally bearish. We're internally bullish, which means we could be coming higher. yes, very, very difficult. Then if you read obviously internal structure, you have for the first time a higher high, which created a lower low. So you're working internally in this range, internally in that range, externally in that range. So you've got external, internal, 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 and now we're internally bullish. Shows we're retracing to a higher point, might be a higher point like that. I would like to just see the dip like that. I think that's the only way the structure kind of makes sense. Once it pushes any higher than that, as you can see, we're sitting in a box. And for me, once you kind of get to that, we need a break out of our external ranges, which is this high or this low. We're kind of messing around too far in there. So AU for me is more or less untradeable unless we get our reaction off of this point now. So if I'm reading my structure on the 15 minute, you've got obviously, see, even this is just so long. So you've got low, high that created a full lower low. There isn't a retracement at all in that. So realistically, that's my 15-minute range. It's the first one that took that low that created that next low through that. Yeah, we only just broke it then. So we're externally bullish now on the 15-minute, which we know is a 4-hour high as well, which holds a lot of liquidity. In terms of the decisional of that, you've obviously got this decisional here, and then you've got your extreme area all the way down the bottom here. None of this really holds any weight. So what you're kind of going to get on AU is just this, or this, or this. Or it'll just push up. They're kind of the options on AU. So we need to see what it does here. That's not for me. That's not really a decisional. It didn't take liquidity. So I'd expect this to more or less be a smart money trap. I think you'll get something like that. So short-term sells on AU make some sense. So obviously we've got our major inducement. Like I said, that's actually my 15-minute range, which is kind of disgusting. You could even have that as your hourly range, and that is your internal bullish range. So you've got push up, low that creates a high. You then have this range to here. Like there's no, either way we're bullish on the 15-minute. We're not bearish. Even internally we're not, until we break a low, which we don't, because we just kept respecting. Low, high, low, high, low, high, high, new lower low, which didn't really hold any weight because they're my ranges, still my ranges, still my ranges. Yeah, 15 minutes bullish internally from here. So I'd kind of want that going. So what I would need in order to catch this is a reaction off of this point, which it looks like it's doing right now, into this area here, which we've now gotten. So I kind of want the inducement of that high. Yeah, so we've come up, nothing internally here. I more or less would want that, targeting that. But I am open to AU sells, just to understand where we are in the range. Don't be silly with it. Apart from that, nothing else in AU. Gold, like I said 2 weeks ago, we're bullish. Just haven't been able to catch it, which is quite sad. I've removed UJ because there's just not many options on it at the moment. I might add it back in when there's more options. But at the moment, I really like where the other pairs are, so that's what I'm going to focus on. Bit of an extended video today, so any questions, let me know. Chuck them in the comments, chuck them in the Telegram. Let's finish this week off strong. Got today and tomorrow. Price action's been very, very difficult to read lately. It's very internal and lots of boxy price action on both pairs. As you can see, this week is literally a box. So we've just got to play towards that and understand that it's a little bit more of a waiting game rather than taking heaps of internal trades. So let's finish the week off strong. I'll chat to you guys in Telegram and let's go from there.